Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is What If Naruto Was Raised with Aizen's Power and Intellect? Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now start the fanfic. Name is Naruto Aizen Namikaze. I am the son of the 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze, formerly known as the Yellow Flash of Konoha, and Kushina Uzumaki, also known as the Red Hot-Blooded Habanero. I also hold the Kyubi no Yoko, the strongest demon out of the 8 other Biju. My life was not been that great, especially when I was kid. Being called Demon Brat, for some strange reason accompanied with glares and whispers, scourging through garbages just to fill my stomach just so I don't succumb to death due to starvation. I can also remember being beat to death on many occasions. As I said, my life was not as glamorous as it is now. I am now the Uzukage of the village of Uzushiogakure, a village that was once destroyed to be left in ruins. This was a village that I built by myself to topple any of the other village and to be more so supreme than Konoha. Not only that, but I have many beautiful wives that kept me sane within the village, women I fell in love with and share equal love with. I couldn't ask for anything better in my life. That's all I have really ever wanted, to be loved and recognized. But none of this would have ever happened if I wouldn't have met my beautiful sword along with this mysterious orb known as the Hogyoku, along with a man I felt like I could call my father at the time. Sosuke Aizen, a man that was once a Shinigami for a place called the Soul Society, but decided to betray them all for his lust of being a god. He was eventually defeated and was sealed and then put in a prison. But being in prison gave him time to think about his actions. This also theoretically sealed the Hogyoku within him, silently waiting for its successor. His sword or Zanpakuto, which he gave to me, is named Kyoka Sugestu, Mirror Flower, Water Moon, an ordinary blade with an ordinary appearance, yet in terms of its skill is nothing short of beautiful. Complete hypnosis over a person's 5 senses by just a glance of the blade. Flaws. Truly remarkable. Life is good now. I am also the most powerful shinobi in all of the elemental nations, given the first triple S rank, which states to flee upon recognizing me, like they have a chance to flee anyways. This is my story of how I started from the bottom, then made it to the top. Come, and I will share this journey that I have been through with you. Here is my story. Love and recognition, 2 words I have been striving attain for in my whole existence. But yet, these 2 words have always been denied to me. Why? I'm not completely sure, but I do hear people calling me Demon Brat, and glaring and whispering dirty things about me. Here I am again, in an alley looking for food. God, this stinks. I'm so hungry. Please let there be something in here. Aha. An unfinished stick of dango. This should do for now. I rejoiced. As I went to take a bite into the dango, I hear steps and low chatter approach me. Shit. I thought already knowing what is going to happen. A man with a Jonin flask jacket and some chunin along with civilians corner me within the alley. The Jonin steps out. Now you are done for, demon. We will finally get rid of you. You caused this village many deaths many years ago, so now we will put an end to you and avenge our loved ones. Fight or flight, this is what was my mind was signaling me. My mind is telling me to run, and get away from these people. And so I did, but where do I go? Running I come across something. Is that a small space leading out of the alley? Screw it, it's my only way out. I dashed towards the space soon after they started charging with kunais and shurikens in hand. My heart palpitating, I'm almost there. Squelch. Ah! I screamed. Damn it, I got hit. I don't even know where I'm going. Wait, is that a forest? Maybe I can lose them in there. Worth a shot. I jumped over the fence and started to run without a destination, deeper into the forest. All the Jonins, Chunins and civilians stopped. Hey, what's the matter? Let's go get the demon, yelled a civilian to the Jonin. The Jonin spoke up. You must be crazy. This is the forest of death. Most Anbu think twice before entering here. In plus he's injured since I'm pretty sure I nailed him, so if he doesn't die of bleeding out, the forest will finish him off. Let's go. What they didn't know is the demon child was about to rock the village of Konoha. Hokage's office. The Sandaime Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, nicknamed the God of Shinobi, a man who had survived 2 wars and mastered at least 1,000 justus, was now sitting on his butt signing through paperwork, customary to his position. Damn, my life has been consumed by these damn papers. Who the hell thought it would be good idea to make paper in the first place? Damn you paperwork. He stopped and sat up and looked at the picture on his wall in front of him. It showed 3 figures he used to talk to a lot. It showed a tall blonde man beside a woman with red hair and another tall man with long white hair holding a baby. That baby was none other than Naruto. The Sandaime always looked at Naruto as his adopted grandson growing up. He felt sad since he hasn't been able to visit him in a while. Maybe I should take him out to eat tomorrow, he thought. Suddenly an Anbu appears in front of the Sandaime bowed, a dog mask on his face, with gray gravity-defying hair. Hokage-sama, I overheard a few civilians in the bar talking about Naruto and how they cornered him in the alley and chased him into the forest of death for him to bleed out and die there. As soon as those words left Kakashi's mouth, an insane amount of killing intent was being felt in the office and throughout the village, to where all the Anbu present in the shadows in the office fell to their knees by the large amount being exhibited by the god of Shinobi. Kakashi, I want you to take 1 unit and capture all the ones responsible and send them to Ibiki. The others here will come with me and we will find him. Move. Immediately all Anbu shunshined out of his office. The amount of killing intent was insane. May God help those who did this to Naruto, Kakashi thought as he went to go gather a unit. With Naruto found himself slowing down now. Blood was on the ground, and he was holding his shoulder. Looks like I lost them, good. Not to find a place to res. OMFPH. OWW my head, Naruto moaned as he felt his back on the ground. He slowly stands up and sees he is in some kind of underground cavern. Looking up he sees the hole he fell into. He all of a sudden feels a pull, like some type of force is pulling him to walk towards a specific direction. He continues on forward, barely being able to see anything in the caverns until he finds a rusty door. He looks at it closely and begins to rub it with his fingers. Wow, this door looks really old. I wonder what's inside. Well, I'm not going to know until I push it, he said. As soon as he places his hand on the rusted door, he gets shocked and faints, but before he could fully close his eyes in sleep, he notices a faint power coursing through him. Mindscape. OWW my head hurts twice as much now. Where the hell am I now? He stands up and looks around and finds himself in place that just occupied nothingness, except the color white which was everywhere. Am I heaven? Naruto thought out loud. No, you are not, young one. A voice says. He spins around, almost breaking his neck, and sees this man with brown hair, his hair slicked back with one long strand gently resting in the front. He stood at 6'3" wearing white clothes with a white-like cape reaching his feet. He had hands in his pocket, and to Naruto had an alarmingly calm and dangerous aura about him. Who are you? Naruto shouts. The man's mouth took a slight smile and says, I am Sosuke Aizen, my child. Naruto just looks at him, takes a deep breath and says, Okay Aizen-san, what the hell am I doing here? Why the hell are you here? What the hell is this place? What the hell was that door I touched? And what the hell just shocked me before I fainted? Shouted Naruto in pure hysteria. Aizen looks at him, and the first time in a while an amused smirk graced his face. Ah yes, let me answer those first 3 questions. You are here because you touched the door that I was sealed in. That door you touched was my prison, and what shocked you was the seal's energy. It's interesting as it seemed it allowed to meet in your mindscape. Aizen said. Naruto scratched his head, relived he got some information. Okay, that answers that, but why am I here? And what are you? From the looks of the door it looks to be at least 100 years old, so in that case you should be dead. Naruto said. Aizen slightly went wide-eyed at his intelligent response, and composed himself and spoke. How very astute of you, Naruto-kun. To answer your question, I am a ex-Shinigami. As soon as he said that, Aizen was not able to continue as Naruto freaked out and yelled. Oh my god, am I dead? Kami-sama has come to take my soul. He yelled hysterically. Naruto-kun, Aizen said in a calm yet stern eerie voice that got him to stop. Before I was interrupted by your unnecessary outburst, I was about to explain. Like I said, this is your mindscape. It's a surprise you're even able to see me. As for me, I am past 100 years of age and no, I am not Kami. Shinigami are the ones that hold order of spirits when they die and go to the Soul Society. Aizen went on to explaining the basics of what Shinigami are, and told him about his time being one. He also told Naruto his eventual demise by a man named Kurosaki Ichigo and how he was sealed and thrown in prison and how he recently became one with Hogyoku, more of a soul though. It was then Naruto asked a question. So this is your prison then? Naruto asked, to which Aizen nodded. But how were you able to escape Soul Society? I thought your prison would be up there, not Konoha, Naruto asked curiously. Aizen smiled as he seemed to be enjoying the well-thought questions he was asking. For a kid anyways. I will tell you in a bit. Let me continue my story. Aizen then explained his motive and how he was young and naive and wanted to gain power and be known as a god throughout the heavens and earth. As he finished, Aizen's calm aura suddenly disappeared into a sad and remorseful one since he was reminiscing about the story. Naruto noticed this and decided even though he committed evil in his time, he saw the way he looked, and thought that his imprisonment really did change him. Not only that, but he had to admit he was impressed with his ability to take on these so-called captains without any problems. Naruto broke the silence. Aizen-san, although I don't approve of what you did with your past, it seems you really thought about your mistakes and feel regretful. I do not hold the past against you, for it is what we do with our future that determines what type of character we are in the end. Aizen for the second time today became slightly wide-eyed and spoke. Naruto-kun, such a mature thought for someone your age, and to only think you are still this small. Why is that, Naruto-kun? Naruto's face took a slight frown and looked at Aizen's eyes with his own that showed Aizen eyes of someone who has seen pain and death constantly. Naruto took a big deep breath and huffed. Aizen-san, the way my life has been, forced me to grow up and mature faster. Sometimes I wish that I was still naive to world like all the kids around my age, Naruto said. Aizen frowned though upon hearing this. Naruto-kun, come here real quick, I want to see something, Aizen said. Naruto complied and slowly walked over to Aizen. Aizen had then put his hand over his forehead. With the power of the Hogyoku, he read Naruto's mind of his whole life up till now. He saw everything: being kicked out the orphanage, not being treated fairly, being almost beaten to death on a daily basis. To say Aizen was mad was an understatement. He may used to be a cruel and sadistic bastard that used people to his advantage, but a kid nonetheless had to go through things that would make most people break, maybe even himself. Although he smiled at this man Naruto called his GG and was happy he could find some type of love, but nonetheless his respect of the boy immediately increased. Aizen took his hand off his head and knelt down to his level and looked at Naruto's face. You asked me how I was able to end up here when I was imprisoned in Soul Society, correct? Aizen asked while Naruto nodded. Aizen lifted his palm facing upwards as a small purple came from his body and began to float above it. This little ball is the Hogyoku. Its power is unimaginable as it was an additional source to my own power. You will learn later on about what this does. But one thing the Hogyoku does, is it grants the owner's deepest desire. I didn't want to be in Soul Society anymore, so I'm assuming it took me here. Aizen said as the ball disappeared. Naruto was shocked to say the least. This tiny little ball was the source of this mon's power who fought other Shinigamis. It must have been something else. Aizen saw the shocked look on his face and smiled as he asked him a question. Naruto-kun, if you were to have power, and you were capable of being the strongest shinobi on this planet, what would you do with that power? Naruto looked up and spoke without hesitation. I would protect those who aim to harm me and anyone close to me like Hokage Gigi, you Aizen-san and any future friends. Anyone that would oppose me I will destroy. I will also build a village of my own so I could live in peace, Aizen smiled. A true smile knowing him and this boy will become real friends. He pulls out the familiar purple-looking orb in his hand and said, Naruto-kun, if you want to be free of all the beatings and mistreatment and want to become strong and protect those who mean the most to you then take this orb. Naruto looks at it in awe and says, Aizen-san, what would this orb give me? Naruto spoke slightly hesitant. This orb will give you an extreme increase in speed and strength, not only that but you will have my famed Zanpakuto and lastly I will merge with you since I am part of the Hogyoku, Aizen spoke. Naruto looked at him and said, so when we merge will I be able to come here and talk to you again? Yes Naruto-kun, but only until you have gotten a hold of my past skills especially with and without my Zanpakuto. But after that my spirit will fade and will be absorbed into the Hogyoku due to you being the new owner. Aizen spoke. With a slight frown which turned into a slight smile, Naruto said with much vigor. Well I will make you proud Aizen-san, with the abilities you will give me, I will change the world. Come high or come low I will be the greatest shinobi to your testament, and Hokage Gigi. Once again Aizen smiled a true smile and said, well Naruto-kun we have a long way ahead of us. So once you absorb the Hogyoku we will merge and you will get my skills but we will have to work on them to make them perfect. Absorbing this will hurt and you will feel pain like never before. After, you will wake up and it should be in time for when your Hokage Gigi gets to you since this should alert him. Are you sure you want this Naruto-kun? Aizen finished. Naruto without hesitation said, let's do this Datbeo. Naruto took the orb from his hands and the orb slowly floated up then smashed towards his chest. Naruto looks over himself. Ah Aizen-san, I thought you said I was supposed to experience pain I've never felt before. Aizen smirks and at an instant Naruto was screaming for dear life. As Naruto is moving around in pain on the floor the mindscape starts to diminish and with that, Aizen began to think about his experience of meeting Naruto. This boy, he will become someone great. I know it. I can see the potential and if I train him right he should be able to surpass me. This boy is very interesting indeed. No matter, I will turn him into something shinobis and shinigamis fear alike. Moments later Naruto woke up in the same forest he was in before he fell in the hole. Ow my goddamn head, why is it always me head? Why can it be any other body part? As soon as he stood up he immediately noticed the difference within his power and himself. Is this what it feels like to absorb the Hogyoku? Interesting. I feel like I can move mountains. I also feel taller. Way taller. He thought to himself. His focus shifted towards a specific or as he felt a familiar energy source accompanied by 4 other people. As on cue, Sarutobi arrives. Naruto-kun. Sarutobi yelled. Sarutobi lands and looks at Naruto in shock. Standing before him was not the short 4-inch kid that looked skinny as he remembered. Before him now is a man standing at 5 feet 6, clothes torn clearly showing the amount of muscle on him. Even breathing or moving any body part slightly, Sarutobi and the other 4 ninja were able to see every muscle move under very little strain. Even some of the women that accompanied the Hokage as Anbu couldn't help but blush red and have a slight nosebleed. He did look a lot older. Especially a purple-haired shinobi. Sarutobi was snapped out of his stupor when he heard, Ohio GG. Sarutobi cracks a slight smile hearing the grandfatherly term being used as he knew only person called him that. Naruto-kun, what happened to you? Why do you like you're a young adult? Sarutobi said. Ah yes GG, matters on this issue shall be discussed in your office away from prying ears. Naruto said referring to the Anbu. Sarutobi looked at him in mild shock yet again. Where was the little hyperactive blonde that shouts and is impatient and yelling, Dadbeo? The person talking to him here seemed very calm, cool and very collected. Snapping out of thought yet again, Sarutobi looked at him. Oh okay Naruto-kun let's head back to my office. And with that they left. Sarutobi's office. Over the course an hour and a half Naruto explained to him that he was first looking for food. Then up to where he got cornered and attacked. As he finished, everyone in room knew Sarutobi was mad if the rise of his killing intent indicated anything. After he calmed down, Naruto told him how he fell in a ditch and met Aizen after touching a rusted door and led on to explaining Aizen's past and the Hogyoku merging with him explaining his appearance. Sarutobi pinches the bridge of his nose, eyes closed feeling a migraine come on. Kami, first paperwork, and now this story of Naruto's. Although from what he told me, he might be able to surpass his father and me if trained right. Should I tell him? I want to inquire on his newfound abilities and I'll see if he could be capable enough of defending himself when he learns the secret. Sarutobi snaps his eyes open and asks, Naruto-kun, what type of abilities or powers have you obtained since the merge? Naruto tries to remember what Aizen said but was interrupted in mid-thought when he hears his voice. Naruto-kun. Aizen-san. Yes, it is me. Tell your GG that you will have an exceptional boost in power and speed, not only that you have somewhat retained my intellect so learning things and mastering them will be easy like the justus you guys use. Aizen continues. Also you will be able to access Ryastu, which is the spiritual part of chakra, making your moves in the Shinigami art way more powerful than any just you. And lastly my sword, although it has a name you have to be able to hear it through training and meditation to use it. But what the sword's special ability is complete hypnosis over an opponent. You will be able to control all 5 senses of a person. You can practically attack and kill without them knowing they are in illusion. You get that, Naruto-kun? Quote, quote. Naruto-kun. Little did Aizen know Naruto was sitting there wide-eyed and his jaw almost hitting the floor. After being explained everything he can have in terms of ability by Aizen, Naruto was practically drooling at the thought at how powerful he can become. After a while Naruto picked up his jaw and asked Aizen. Aizen-san. Aizen quickly interrupted. Naruto-kun, you shall refer to me as Aizen-sensei from now on since I will be training you tomorrow. Naruto responded. Ah, okay Aizen-sensei, should I tell him everything you told me? Aizen thought about it. Yes, tell him everything except the ability of your sword. That will be your trump card, but knowing since we merged you will eventually use it to show who's more dominant, Aizen finished with a smirk. Cutting the connection momentarily, Naruto fixed his eyes on Sarutobi and told him everything he acquired. Sarutobi for the moment looked like his jaw was about to snap off any second as he was hearing this godlike power Naruto had acquired. Well, at least I can tell him about Kyuubi, and his heritage now. Please forgive me Naruto-kun for being an old fool. He thought. The Sandaime cleared his throat to get Naruto's attention. Naruto-kun, I think it's about time I told you about your parents and Kyuubi. My parents? Naruto said with such a sad-ridden face. Sarutobi could looked at the boy in sadness. It pained him to see his adopted grandson so sad. With a sigh, Sarutobi spoke. Yes Naruto, your dad was the 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Your mom was Kushina Uzumaki. Your father was my successor. He was a very good man. He always cared for everyone, especially his friends in this village. He was undoubtedly the strongest shinobi to ever grace the elemental nations. Sarutobi continued. He actually looks just like you, blonde hair and everything. Your mom was a hothead, very talkative and a tomboy at that. But don't be fooled, she was one of the most beautiful kunoichi in the village. Having long beautiful red hair and blue eyes, she was also one of the most talented women to ever serve as a ninja here in Konoha. Kushina was known for fuinjutsu and being able to subdue the 9-tailed fox that attacked this village long ago with her chakra chains, being she had special chakra. Listen to me loud and clear when I say this Naruto, they both loved you very much. At the time of her pregnancy they both couldn't stop talking about you and how they couldn't wait to see how much a man you would grow out to be. No doubt they cared about you so much they both were willing to sacrifice their lives for you, and they did. Sarutobi ended with a sad sigh. It wasn't long until Naruto was looking at the ground, tears falling out of his eyes. A few silent seconds he only uttered one word. Why? He asked. Sarutobi could look in confusion until a sudden an explosion of sheer pressure came out of nowhere, forcing the Anbu in the room to sweat profusely, while the god of shinobi was having a hard time breathing and sweating due to the pressure being directed to him. Sarutobi managed to lift his head ever so slightly to look at who was causing the pressure and was shocked when he saw his adopted grandson causing it. Where Naruto was standing, energy was surrounding him. But it was not visible chakra to Sarutobi's understanding, but some other type of energy. Purple Ryastu was streaming and surrounding Naruto. Sarutobi thought, my god, this feels like killing intent but much stronger, this feels like pure power, what the hell happened to you Naruto-kun? My body has never felt so heavy in my life. Naruto was standing there glaring at the Hokage. Why Sarutobi, why didn't you tell me? He yelled with his spiritual pressure increasing even more than before. The floors started to crack little by little. It wasn't until he heard his sensei. Naruto. Aizen yelled firmly in his mind before continuing. Naruto-kun, one lesson you will learn from me is to keep your emotions in check and never let any emotion control you. Lower your spiritual pressure now and listen to his reasoning on why he did what he did. Aizen said but inwardly smirking at the display. This boy has almost as much spiritual pressure as me before I left the Soul Society. And this is just after we merged. What's scary is he will surpass mine in a couple years if he trains. He might not even have to fight some people just by flexing his spiritual pressure alone. The next 4 years will be indeed interesting, he thought. With those words being said, Naruto calmed down just a little while the Sandaime and Anbu in the room were slowly trying to get their breathing back to normal. One thing was for sure though. Everyone who felt the spiritual pressure in the room that moment knew that Naruto will be someone you would not want to come across in the future. Naruto only stood there, tears still slowly coming off his face. He broke the silence as everything seemed it was back to normal. Why GG? He asked more somberly this time. Sarutobi finished adjusting his clothes and getting his breathing in check and looked at Naruto. I'm sorry Naruto-kun, what you need to understand is your father was so dangerous being that he ended a war with one just you that many people wanted to claim his head. Your father was the first person to ever achieve the rank of a double S rank shinobi with a flee on sight order if you saw him. If other villages would have known he had a son they instantly would have tried to kill or kidnap you. And I would not let that happen, Sarutobi said in a firm yet strong voice. While Naruto was processing the information he was just told, he was surprised that his father was so strong other villages gave an order to run away from him when they saw him, not only that but he ended a war with one just you. One word came to his mind when he thought about it, amazing. Aizen in his mindscape was somewhat impressed at the information they just received. My, now I know merging with this boy was the right thing to do. No doubt he will become powerful, Aizen thought smiling. Naruto spoke up. I am sorry for the way I acted GG. It's just being alone and thinking no one cared for me made me very sad and angry. It's nice to know that I had parents who loved me and were powerful at that. I understand you were only looking out for me. I promise an outburst like that will not occur again. I am sorry Hokage-sama, he said as he bowed. Sarutobi was shocked at how he addressed him. Never in his life has Naruto called him Hokage-sama. A smile was found on Sarutobi's face when he replied. It's okay Naruto-kun, knowing if it was someone else they would have done the same thing. I can tell by your response and surge of power thought that you will become a great shinobi if not the best. Sarutobi continued. Naruto, do you want to know why people call you demon brat? At an instant Naruto locked eyes with him with a mix of curiosity and painfulness. Naruto, the nine-tailed fox that attacked our village long ago, could not be stopped. You were born on the same day the Kyuubi was summoned to destroy this village. Your father, even though he was considered a god among ninja, could not defeat a tailed beast considering it was the strongest one out of all of them. So he did what he thought was right to save his village and sealed the fox in you. You saved our village that day, Naruto-kun, and in your dad's last words to me, he wanted the village to see you as a hero. But people were still recovering from their own losses in those times and were traumatized to the point not a lot of people got over that day. And even going as far as misplacing their anger and sadness onto you. Sarutobi said. Naruto went wide-eyed, everything was now making sense. Why they called him that name, why people hate him and don't give him the time of day. He suddenly asked. GG, if I save the village, then why do people hurt me and try to kill me? Sarutobi slightly winced at the bluntness of the question. Like I said before, it is misplaced anger, but Naruto-kun, always remember that people will fear what they do not know. Now let me ask you a question. If I poured a bowl of water in a cup, does the water become the cup? Naruto responded, of course not, GG, it only holds th. Naruto had then came to a realization. Sarutobi saw this and said, ah, I see, you understand it now. People believe since the demon is sealed inside of you, you are the demon itself by association. What they don't know is you are only holding it back. Naruto heard this and instantly felt at ease. He was starting to believe the people who called him that. But now that he had found out about his parents and the Kyuubi, he was starting to feel much better. Naruto straightened out his posture and spoke. GG, from now on if anyone messes with me they will feel the wrath of power and I will not guarantee they will survive, Naruto spoke in a slightly disturbing calm voice. One thing was for sure. With his newfound power, he ain't taking shit from no one. Sarutobi sighed knowing this would happen sooner or later, so he spoke. Okay Naruto-kun, but at least try to avoid it, if not then try not hurt them that badly. Because I do not feel like doing more paperwork than I have to. He said as both Sarutobi and Naruto shared a chuckle. I promise GG. Also GG, I also have a request, Naruto said seriously. And what would that be? Sarutobi asked, slightly curious. I would like to train for 4 years in the Forest of Death without any interruption to increase my skills both in the Shinigami and Shinobi arts. After I would like to join the graduating class at the academy. I promised myself that when I got this power I would make you, Aizen sensei and now my 2-san and Ka-san proud and become the best shinobi the elemental nations has ever seen. Naruto said with the utmost confidence. Sarutobi and Aizen smiled at the boy's declaration. Are you sure you want to be in the Forest of Death, Naruto-kun? There are many dangerous animals in there. Sarutobi said, slightly worried. Yes GG, with Aizen with me, along with my training nothing should be able to touch me. Sarutobi paused for a moment then said with a sigh. Alright Naruto-kun, I will allow it, just make sure you come back alive so I can test your skills out myself. The Sandaime said with a smirk. Naruto replied back with a small smirk. Oh trust me GG, I know I would be itching to take down your old butt and show you who's boss. Sarutobi grew a slight tick mark. I may be old Naruto-kun but I can still take down armies with ease. He said slightly proud. Yeah whatever GG. Hey can I also get some scrolls before I leave? Naruto asked. Yeah sure my boy, let me get some real quick, Sarutobi said as he left to fetch them. Moments later the Sandaime came back. Here you go Naruto, here are some C and B rank scrolls for you to learn along with some books with chakra exercises just in case to ever plan to use it. Also, since I know you're going to be in the forest for a while, here is a scroll with food and water that should last you for a while. The Sandaime walked back to his deck and was about to start his paperwork when he was interrupted by a voice he thought was going to leave. Hey GG, what did my mom and dad look like? Naruto asked curious as he turned back around. Sarutobi looked at him for a moment and pointed to a photo frame that hung on his wall. Naruto turned his attention to it and upon seeing it Sarutobi spoke. The man to your left was a good friend of mine, that is your father, the 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze. The girl to his right is your mother, Kushina Uzumaki, a strong and beautiful woman. And the man in the middle you is a good friend of theirs, his name is Jiraiya the Toad Sannin. Sarutobi thought to himself, I can't tell him that he had a godfather all along. I don't think he could handle that right now. Plus I want to stay alive even if it means doing paperwork. While Sarutobi was in deep thought, Naruto as well was thinking as well. Wow, I really do look like my dad, except now that my hair is slicked back like Aizen sensei's. But my mom is so pretty. I haven't seen a girl as beautiful as her. Not to mention her body looks real good. Wait, what? Naruto starts to fidget. I can't think like that. She's my mom, for goodness sake. Although she does look very pretty. Aizen decides to cut into his train of thought. Well, your mom is Naruto-kun. I wouldn't have minded getting to know her, Aizen states in an amused voice, knowing he would get a rise out of him. Naruto instantly retorts back, hey Tem. She's my mom, not your woman. She is mine and you will not do or think anything of that matter. Aizen smirks before responding. My Naruto, no need to get defensive. But I can already tell you don't look at her like a mom. Naruto instantly blushes red. While Sarutobi finishes his thoughts, he focuses his eyes on Naruto and sees his blush. Curious at what is making him blush, he sees his eyes fixed on his mom. Sarutobi smirks very wide and thinks, my Naruto-kun, who would have known you thought like that? Though I don't blame you, not receiving any love and now looking at a beautiful woman, he can't help what to think. Maybe I can get Jiraiya on this. He thought perversely. He then snapped out of his stupor and looked at Naruto. Naruto, my boy, are you okay? He said. Naruto, still in blank gaze, suddenly snapped out of it. Looking at his GG, he responds. Yeah, I'm fine, GG. But thanks for clearing things up and explaining it to me. I'll see you in 4 years, Gramps. Naruto said, running out of his office. Sarutobi sat back down and looked at the picture of Minato. Minato, Kushina, you would be proud of your son, and even more so in 4 years. No doubt in my mind he will become powerful. Turning his head to the left, he sees more paperwork and at an instant he cries anime tears. I don't want to do paperwork anymore, he said in a childish tone as he continued crying anime tears. Running out of the Hokage Tower, Naruto immediately began to run full speeds towards the Forest of Death. Naruto couldn't help but think how strong he was going to become in the next 4 years. As soon as he reached the forest, he hopped up on the highest branch he could find and closed his eyes to try and find Aizen so he could start his training. Naruto's mindscape for Aizen. He opened his eyes and saw before him what seemed to be a beautiful Japanese garden that was huge. Looking to his right, he sees his new companion and sensei coming out of the traditional Japanese house. Upon spotting him, Aizen smiles and greets him. Hello Naruto-kun, what brings you here? Naruto greets him with a nod and slight bow. Aizen-sensei, I wish to become strong and I wish to start my training with you as soon as possible. He said with determination in his eyes. Aizen sees this and lightly smirks. Ah yes Naruto-kun, the first step to your training will begin now. Come. He gestures, walking beside him. Moments later, Aizen and him come to a room within the house. Aizen began to slide the door open and the first thing Naruto saw was a vast library of books. He looks at Aizen. You're kidding, right Aizen-sensei? Naruto says. On the contrary Naruto-kun. What made me such a dangerous Shinigami capable of handling multiple captains was not my ability to attack, although it played a part, it was my keen intellect that made the difference. My ability to be a strategist when the situation calls for it, to be calm and collected and to use my opponent's emotions against them to trigger a mistake when they attack. Always remember Naruto, your mind is your most dangerous weapon. Train your mind to the fullest extent and you will be able to overcome any enemy no matter what size or skill. Aizen states indefinitely. He continues, now I want you start out reading these books. Aizen gestures Naruto to sit at a table while he leaves to grab a few books. He comes back with what seems to be towering mountain of books. Upon arriving at the table, Aizen drops the books, making a large booming sound. Naruto grabs one of the books and looks at it incredulous. Advanced Theory of Human Psychology, picking up another one, Basic Intro to Psychoanalysis. Reading Human Behavior and Emotions Volume 1. Aizen straightened out his clothes before continuing. These books here Naruto will teach you on how the human mind works and how to use it to your advantage. We will not start any training until you have read the appropriate number books I see fit. By the time you are done you should be able to manipulate an enemy into doing what you want, to be able to analyze a situation and come up with 5 solutions to counter it. By reading the human body's gestures and emotions you will be able to tell an enemy's personality, for very subtle gestures can tell a lot about one's personality which you then can capitalize on. Naruto just looks at him. Then the books. Aizen-sensei, I feel looking at these books I already somewhat know the material in of each of them, Naruto stated, flipping through pages. Aizen in turn responds, yes Naruto-kun, that should be partly because of you and I merging together. You retained somewhat of my intellect, so now all we need to do is brush up on it and make sure you memorize these books like the back of your hand. Naruto looks at some of the books on the table and one catches his eye. He immediately picks it up and yells at Aizen. Seduction 101. How to make women do what you want in bed. Seriously Aizen-sensei. I thought I was learning about the human mind, not about seducing girls and learning how to get them in bed. Aizen lazily picks his ear out with his pinky. Seriously Naruto, can you get more louder? Anyways, you are learning the art of seduction because you will face women who will try to kill you. It would be better to seduce and manipulate them to how you see fit. You may also single-handedly avoid a battle alone with just words and gestures. Plus by the time you're done reading, every girl you encounter won't get enough of you and it is a good read. Aizen says with a wide smirk and light laugh. Naruto on the other hand blushes blood red and shouts. Aizen-sensei. Naruto whined. He looks back at his sensei and was about to complain some more about the book and found his gaze was dead serious. With a sigh Naruto says. You fine sensei, I will read it. Aizen smirks gets slightly bigger. Thought you would see it my way. Now you will spend every day in this mindscape. Every 2 to 3 days you will wake up to make sure you to eat the food and water your Hokage Jiji gave you so you don't die of hunger and starvation, and to make sure no animals have harmed you in the real world. When you are done learning these books and you pass a test I have set up for you, we will continue your training outside of this mindscape since we don't need books for the spells since I will teach them to you. Naruto nods his head and replies, okay, I will do that Aizen-sensei, and I can't wait to try this stuff out in the open. Aizen smiles and says, good. Now read all these books. Once you finish come find me and I will test your knowledge to see if you understand the material. Hi. Naruto yells. 100 plus books in a month later. Naruto slides the door and walks into a living room silently. He spots his sensei calmly reading. Aizen-sensei, I believe I have read and mastered everything from reading and spotting emotions from the human psychology books to seducing women to my whim. I would like to test my knowledge and take this test so I may begin in training my skills in the Shinigami arts. Naruto said calmly. Aizen looks up from his book silently, then places his gaze on Naruto and says, alright, I believe the time has come. Wake up Naruto-kun, I will be right behind you. Nodding, he slowly fluttered his eyes open. He sees himself sitting on a branch. Jumping off of it he lands on the ground and starts to see Aizen materialize in front of him. Naruto looks at him in awe and asks, Aizen-sensei, how are you able to come out of my mindscape? I thought you were just a spirit. Aizen smirks smugly. Well Naruto, since I am fused with the Hogyoku I can materialize because of the power of it. Now come Naruto. Let's head deeper into the forest. Aizen says, walking deeper. They finally arrive to an open space with a lot of room. Aizen began walking towards the middle. Aizen directs Naruto to walk the opposite direction. As now they are facing each other. Aizen materializes a small timer and sets it, then places it on a small log near him. Naruto-kun, this is your final test. Aizen said facing him. This timer here is set to 3 minutes. You have 3 minutes to read and decipher my personality. When the 3 minutes is up I will ask you what you can deduce from simply looking at me. If you happen to so miss one little detail about me, I will attack you and kill you here, and we will both be sealed within the Hogyoku. Your test starts now. As soon as Aizen let his words settle in his student's mind, he took a moment to look at him, inwardly smirking. Ah, so he has learned something. His demeanor has not changed even though I mentioned I would not to hesitate to strike him down, and he didn't even flinch. His posture looks exactly like mine. Very good, Naruto. Now let's see if you will pass. Inside, Naruto was somewhat skeptical by his last statement, knowing it was not at all as it seemed. Running his mind through everything he has learned up till now, he examined Aizen methodically. By his facial features, I can see he is relaxed. No facial muscles are tensed, no eyebrow twitching. His blinking of his eyes are controlled. But with the slight smirk, I can tell he knows I am closely examining him. His arms are loosely hanged by his side, ready to pull his sword out at an instant. Chest breathing looks to be the same. His posture is tall yet relaxed. He believes he's still superior to me and has nothing to worry about. Naruto looks at the timer. It shows 1 minute and 30 seconds. Okay. Legs slightly bent so he has balance just in case I attack, or he does. Now to his feet. Well. What is this? Very interesting. Naruto says, more closely examining Aizen's feet. Shifting from the balls of his back feet to its regular posture. And his left leg slightly inching forward. Ah, that just confirmed my suspicion to his last statement. Naruto thought very proudly. Regardless if I answer this wrong or right, Aizen-sensei is going to lunge and attack me. Very tricky of you, Aizen-sensei. He must expect me to counter. Now to divert an oncoming attack and counter. His sword is on his left side, which tells me he is right-handed. When he pulls it out, he will slash with a wide arc, or his sword will come down to slash me. His two legs are slightly more apart than usual, so he will use a wide arc to overpower me, so he will compensate for the speed and balance he could have had in straight slash. Okay, I know what to do. Bring it, Aizen-sensei. Ring. Aizen stops the timer. So Naruto-kun, what can you deduce from just looking at me? Aizen says with a smile. Naruto showed his smile in return. But it wasn't a regular smile, a smile that clearly shows he knows what he is planning. Ah yes, Aizen-sensei, let's see. You are very relaxed in the stance you are in now. You look to be ready for anything. But what caught my eye is the way your legs are positioned, he replied. Aizen's smile getting bigger and replies innocently. Really, Naruto? Please elaborate. Aizen stated. Naruto responded back. Certainly, sensei. The last sentence you told me about striking me down if I didn't get one thing right about you got my attention. As soon as I started examining your feet, I saw that your left leg was slowly inching further from your body while your right leg was routinely shifting to the balls of your feet. You were planning on attacking me regardless, Aizen-sensei, Naruto finished with a wide smirk. Aizen looks at him with a big smile and chuckles before talking. Very good, Naruto. You have indeed figured out my true motive by only reading my posture. I am very impressed. You are ready to learn the Shinigami arts, Naruto-kun. As soon as the words left his mouth, Aizen blurred out of existence and went to slash Naruto with a wide arc just as he anticipated. Naruto, seeing this, flips over his blade and delivers a hard kick to the back of Aizen, sending him stumbling forward a bit. Aizen barely felt it, but he smiled yet again before addressing him. Very good, Naruto. Not only did you predicted my attack, but you also countered accordingly. If you would have poured more power into that kick, any normal person with average combat experience would have had a severed spine. Naruto smiles and bows. Thank you, Aizen-sensei. When can we begin training? Aizen lets out a small laugh, already wanting to go back to training, huh? Well, let's begin now. Yosh! Naruto yells, following Aizen in tow. While walking forward to find another training ground field, Aizen thinks about the upcoming years. These 4 years are going to be interesting. Only a month and he is able to read me. In the next few years he will become the most deadliest shinobi in his village. And then we will show them the definition of fear, he thought with a smirk. Alright, here we are, Naruto-kun. Naruto stops right beside Aizen to see where he was brought. They seem to have ventured further into the forest past a tower they saw on the way here. In front of him was an even bigger field with massive-sized trees and boulders. Aizen tells him to sit in the middle of the field. While he does this, Aizen begins to explain. Naruto-kun, the energy you have within you is called Raryoku. Unlike what your Hokage Gigi uses, this is the spiritual essence of the same energy source, thus making it more powerful and potent. This is what's stored in your body. Everything I am going to teach you will involve something called Ryastu. Ryastu is the energy being expelled. Think about it this way. It's like a pool of water, that is your Raryoku. In order to say put out a fire, you will need to exert the water but in a controlled manner. How will you do that? By taking a hose or a big bucket to the pool of water and using those instruments to alleviate the fire. By pouring how much water you seem fit to put out the fire. That is your Ryastu. Aizen continues. Within using your Ryastu, you are able to do many things that we Shinigami use. For example, you would be able to cast spells which fall under the name Kido, meaning spirit way or demon way. Within Kido there are 3 types of spells you can cast. One being Hakudo, which means way of binding. These spells will help you restrict or immobilize a person. It's very broad art. Along with Hakudo are spells that allow you to use barriers to stop attacks or use seals to hold things far more better in place. You understand, Naruto? Aizen says. Naruto nods his head, allowing Aizen to continue. Going down the list of Kido, there is another spell called Hado, which means way of destruction. These spells are used for offensive purposes. Depending on the user, these spells can be well powerful enough to even take down your Hokage. These are the spells I will be teaching you most of the time. Last one the list is called Kado, which just is the healing Kido, which I have some knowledge but not enough. Both Bakudo and Hado have numbers ranging from 1 to 99. Following the latter, 1 will be the weakest, 99 will be the strongest. Don't be fooled by the numbers of their ranking though. An experienced captain can make a low-level spell very powerful, especially with Hado. Also there are incantations that go along with each spell both for Hado and Bakudo. Using an incantation will power it up but will slow down your time to use it. You can however not cast an incantation, as you will be able to fire it faster although it is weaker, but like I said, train enough on it and can become strong even with an incantation. Are you keeping up with me, Naruto-kun? Aizen says. Naruto nods his head in confirmation. Along with using your Ryastu, you are able to use your sword, which we call a Zanpakuto, which means soul cutter. These are sentient swords. We use these swords to send souls to their respective places and to ward off hollows, which are souls that do not cross over to the soul society for staying in the world of the living for too long. They are corrupt spirits who feast on living or deceased humans' souls alike. Anyways, Naruto, a Zanpakuto always has a name and is a spirit, and you will discover it through Jinzen, or sword meditating. Only then the spirit will fight you and decide if you are worthy enough to hear their name and wield them. Once you do hear their name, you will unlock what's called a Shikai or Intial release. In order to release your Shikai, you will need to know their release phase or word. There are 3 forms to your sword. There is your sealed state, your Shikai, and then your Bankai. The sealed state will look like an ordinary sword. Once you utter the Shikai phrase, it will transform to a different appearance. As for Bankai, which means final release, which you will only achieve that through dominating your Zanpakuto spirit in their world. By doing this, your power increases 5 to 10 times. Do you understand everything I have told you, Naruto? Aizen said while looking back at Naruto, who looks like is trying to absorb everything he just said. Naruto sighs and runs a hand through his blonde hair, leaving a single strand in the front. Yes, I do, Aizen-sensei. The power I need in order to do Kido is based on my Ryastu, which I get from a pool of energy inside me called Raryoku. Also there are 3 types of spells that fall under one category, and within that category, I can either heal, attack, immobilize or defend. Also I will be getting a sentient sword that I will have to meet within meditating. Once the spirit thinks I am worthy, the sword will tell me its name and release command to where I will be to use its true abilities. Naruto said. Aizen looks at him with a smile. Very good, I see you get the gist of it. Now stand up and I will teach you how to do Hado and Bakudo spells. We will be doing this for 6 months, then the rest of the months I will teach you how to wield a sword and you will be meditating to reach your sword spirit. I will also tell you we will have to talk to Kyuubi so we know it won't do anything to harm you or your training. Aizen said, heading towards the trees and rocks. Naruto flinched slightly when he heard meeting Kyuubi. But knowing he had to do it, he straightened up and followed Aizen towards the dummies. Upon arriving, Aizen spoke first. Now Naruto, I will be teaching you multiple Hado spells on these trees and boulders. You will do these till you drop and don't have an ounce of Ryastu left. Are you ready for your training? Naruto said in slightly excited voice. Yes, Aizen-sensei, let's do it. Aizen smiled and replied, good, here is your first 2 spells, it's called Sho and Byakurai. 5 months later. Hado no. 4. Byakurai, pale lighting, Naruto said, obliterating 7 to 8 trees with one finger. Turning his gaze to a boulder that looked about to be twice as big as him. Naruto sticks his palm out and yells, Hado no. 31. Shakuho, red fire cannon, a red fireball shoots out of his palm, completely reducing the boulder to smithereens. Looking at his handiwork, soon hears clapping. He turns around to see his sensei smiling. Aizen then speaks, very impressive Naruto-kun. Using Hado number 31 without an incantation. You have certainly improved then from a few months ago. Good, now let's see how your Bakudo is. Get ready, Naruto. I will fire 2 powerful Hado attacks. If you can manage to withstand one attack with a barrier and immobilize with another, then you have learned all I can teach you in that area and we can move on. Naruto looks at him with a calm demeanor and leaps back while Aizen goes on the offensive, signaling the start of his spell. Aizen yells, Hado number 31. Shakuho, a huge red energy ball shots out which appeared to be 3 times the size of Aizen due to him pouring his Ryastu into it. Naruto puts his arms up and moves them in a synchronized order and sticks his right arm out and yells. Koko no Joman, Gate of the Tiger Fang. At that moment a barrier appears out of nowhere shaped like a watermill and at an instant takes the giant red fireball. The barrier slightly cracks then shatters. Aizen smirks when he sees this. Good, Naruto-kun, now for my final attack, Hado no. 63. Reikoho Thunder Roar Seer, a massive wave of yellow energy shoots out. Naruto was now watching calmly with his hands in pocket with a smirk. With the yellow wave nearing Naruto, he quickly shunpos behind Aizen, points 2 fingers out and yells, Bakudo no. 1. Sight restrained. Naruto stands there with one hand in his pocket and smirks back at Aizen, who has his arms restrained. Aizen, upon breaking out, congratulates him. Well, very good job, Naruto-kun, very impressive Bakudo spells. It seems you are ready to learn Zanjutsu along with the technique called Ho-Ho. Sit and I will explain. Naruto sits down while Aizen begins to explain. We are getting close to you discovering your sword. What you will be learning is how to wield a sword. It's called Zanjutsu, or the way of the sword. Wielding a sword is an art. It should always act like an extension of your own arm. When it was me, I had no equal in those terms. I will be running you through katas which you will memorize until you can do them like it's second nature. I will also have you learn one technique which come in handy when wanting to finish things quick. But that will be for later. For now I will teach you a move Shinigami use called Shunpo, meaning flash step, this one of the variations of it. It goes along with your sword. It's a technique where you pour your Ryastu to the bottom of your feet to move across a distance in blind eye speed. I was possibly the fastest, but who came to equaling me more or less is a woman named Yorichi Shihoin. She was so fast she was nicknamed Goddess of the Flash. I will be teaching you that in one more variety, but after you master the flash step. This is what it looks like. I will be at that tree. Aizen turns away from Naruto and flash steps towards the tree. At an instant Naruto only half blinked and was shocked to find his sensei at the tree. Naruto then says, Amazing sensei, I wasn't able to see you move at all. Aizen smirks at that and replies. Well, that is because partly we haven't trained your eyes to keep up and I'm just that fast. Naruto looked at him in awe. Aizen sensei, can we begin now? Aizen smiles and says, yes we can Naruto, I have taken the liberty to get you a wooden sword first so you won't hurt yourself. We will spend half the day with your katas and the rest flash stepping. Let's get to it. Yes Aizen sensei, Naruto yells. Unknown to them there was a purple-haired kunoichi whose hair shaped like a pineapple and wearing a trench coat watching him as he trained. Just who are these two gakis? By the looks of it they look to be at least elite Junin level shinobis. Yet I haven't seen any Justus. Just who is this blown gaki though? I might just have to keep an eye on them and an extra eye on the blonde one Kukuku, she thought mischievously before disappearing. 6 months later. Clang, clang, clang. Both Aizen and Naruto separate from each other. Then at an instant both flash step and disappear only to clash swords with one another. This lasts for about 15 minutes, both not showing any slight fatigue or emotion. They both back up yet again to face each other until Aizen speaks first. My, you have improved dramatically. Your strokes are almost flawless. And your flash step is almost equal to mine. That is enough for today. Tomorrow you will talk to the Kyuubi. Understood. Naruto replies in a cool calm tone. Yes Aizen sensei, I am ready to face anything that will come my way. They will be nothing compared to me. Kyuubi are not, they are only mere ants. Naruto says. Aizen smiles at his response. Great, now go rest for tomorrow. The next day, Naruto wakes up early in the morning and starts to meditate to try and find his way to the Kyuubi's mindscape. Kyuubi's mindscape. Drip, drip, drip. Naruto opens his eyes and sees he is in a sewer. Dark, damp and eerie is what Naruto could describe it as. Walking forward he starts to see a huge cage with some type of seal on it. Walking closer he hears a low growl and then a full growl that flies past him with such intensity his hair and clothes almost look like they're about to be torn off. Inside Naruto was unaffected and merely got closer. Then he hears a booming male voice. Well well well, it finally seems my insignificant vessel has come to finally greet me. The Kyuubi says coming towards the cage in all its glory. Naruto looking at the gigantic fox very calm and collect as ever responds. I am Naruto and so you are the Kyuubi no Yoko huh? I believe the stories about you were an understatement. You look like nothing but a weak fox who is trapped in this cage. Nothing but an ant compared to me. Tell me how is it living in that cage? Must be very infuriating is it not? Kyuubi suddenly roars. You insolent little whelp. I am the Kyuubi no Yoko. The strongest demon out of them all and the one that raised Konoha to the ground. So you will respect me and my power even if you are cute, Kyuubi says raising its killing intent towards unimaginable levels. While Naruto sits there his eyebrows raised and begins to talk. Cute huh? I assume by that statement you are a woman, do you have a human form you can show me? Kyuubi was a little taken back by the assumption. Refocusing she responds. Why yes I do Naruto-kun, Kyuubi responds coyly and transforms. In front of Naruto is not the gigantic fox anymore but a woman. To be about 5 feet 6, very slender frame, face of a goddess, long red hair that looked it reach her mid-back, a very well-endowed chest, if Naruto had to guess it would C-cup borderline D-cup. Along with the long and slim tender legs he has ever seen. It only added to the fact that she was also. Kyuubi sees Naruto checking her out and she can't help but check him out herself. This man was tall, slicked-backed yellow hair, with a single strand on his forehead, hands in his pocket and a chiseled face. She can tell through the civilian clothing he was wearing he has a unbelievably nice body. Although she wasn't showing it, she really wanted to just pounce on him. Naruto snapped her out of her thoughts when he spoke. Wow, such a beautiful woman. Not only has power but beauty as well. Naruto walks over to her and takes her hand and places 2 tender kisses on it and says. Let me reintroduce myself, I am Naruto Namikaze. Do you have a name, my beautiful vixen? Naruto says with a slight smirk. Kyuubi, on the other hand, has never been so flustered in her life. This man within 30 seconds managed to make the Kyuubi no Yoko flustered. Adorning a red blush, she responds. You're such a flatterer, Naruto-kun. My name is Akane, she says. Naruto takes the information in and responds. Such a beautiful name for such a beautiful girl. Tell me, aka-chan, I am here to find out if you pose a threat to me and my training to be the best and feared shinobi in all of the elemental nations. Akane blushes at the affectionate term but then grins mischievously and asks. Well, what if I am? What if I don't want you to get stronger and stay weak so I can break out of this seal when you eventually die? For Kyuubi, that was the wrong thing to say to Naruto. Naruto at an instant turns his face to a serious one and says. I don't think that would be a wise thing to do. At an instant raised his spiritual pressure to a level that dwarfed Kyuubi's killing intent earlier. Kyuubi was found on the ground on her knees, sweating, panting heavily, believing for the first time in her life she was going to die. But at an instant it stopped. She lifted her head to look at Naruto and something stirred inside of her. A warm feeling. She could feel her lower regions leaking from the amount of power her vessel just produced. My God, his power, it's so. I have never felt anyone who could bring me to the ground with pure power alone. Kyuubi was reminiscing about her encounters with other male demons. Kyuubi did have many suitors but none interested her back where she used to live. Looking at Naruto, she gave it more thought. Not many people knew that although the Kyuubi is the strongest demon, she also loved to be submissive. She just couldn't find a partner that even resembled a match for her strength. But now here she is, looking at her vessel still flustered and somewhat turned on. One thought popped into her head. Oh, he will be mine and he will give me kits. Naruto decided to speak up, breaking her from her thoughts. Ah, I see you have witnessed my power. No, that was only a mere fraction of what I truly hold. Kyuubi stood there wide-eyed. A fraction of his power was enough to bring her down. How much at half, or full power at that? Naruto, seeing the realization in her face, asks again. Let me ask you this question again, aka-chan, will you hinder my growth as a shinobi to becoming the most feared in the elemental nations? Akane responds by throwing herself at him, crying into his shirt. For a moment he was taken back by the sudden action and change of emotions. It wasn't until he heard talk that he found out why she was crying. Sniff. Sniff. I am so sorry, Naruto-kun. I am so sorry. Naruto looks at her down, head buried into his chest, trying to figure out why she was saying sorry. And what would you be sorry for, aka-chan? He asked in a more softer voice. Akane was crying even harder now. I'm sorry for what I said earlier. I was only trying to get a rise out of you from that comment. But I'm also sorry for attacking your village. But I've seen what they have done to you, Naruto-kun. They hurt you so much physically and emotionally. I tried healing you as best as I can whenever you were hurt. I don't why people would do such a thing to you. I'm just so sorry. Please, Naruto-kun, please forgive me, she cried hysterically. Naruto slightly stiffened when he heard that she saw the things that hurt him, but he was slightly relieved when he heard he was constantly being healed by her. He always wondered about that. He used to think everyone was like that. Taking off his calm, collective Aizen facade, he spoke in that soft tone again. Aka-chan. Akane looks up at him, red and puffy-eyed. He starts to caress her face only for her to lean into it before continuing. Aka-chan, I'm glad that you were there for me when no one else was. And I'm glad you are apologizing for attacking the village. The past is in the past. Let's start by reshaping our future. Together. Getting to know one another. Naruto said, smiling. He continued. Although, can I ask you favor, aka-chan? He said a little more seriously. Sure. Naruto-kun, what is it? Lightly blushing, not being used to the affectionate term. Well, my sensei has trained to use Ryostu, which I'm pretty proficient at. Though I remember him telling me Ryostu is the same energy at which GG uses but from the other half. I was wondering if you knew how to use the other half, and if you do, can you teach me how to use it? Naruto said, slightly hopeful. Ah yes, Naruto-kun, the other half is called chakra. Chakra is the molding of physical energy and spiritual energy to perform justus. Although since you have likely more spiritual energy, that will be your pool soul source for most of your techniques. Also unlocking your chakra and combing them would double the power of your techniques. Akane said. So will you teach me, aka Chanham? Naruto said. Noticing she was still in his arms, he gently inched away from her and put a hand on her face, and gently stroked her cheek, causing her to blush until he put his mouth to her ear and whispered. I promise, aka Chan, it will be worth your while if you teach me. Maybe we can both learn things from each other, he said in a low seductive voice. She's answers shakily. SS sure Naruto-kun, we can learn tomorrow. Naruto shows a true smile to her for the first time and her heart instantly beats faster and responds. Good. Now let me change this mindscape for you. Suddenly the cage disappeared and what appeared was a mansion-type Japanese-style house with a huge beautiful garden outlooking a pond. Naruto shunpos to one of the bedrooms and lays Akane down. She laid there, body slightly trembling, thinking they were about to get intimate. Also the tone he used with his words earlier, and the insinuation of his words. It didn't help that he had a primal aura to him as well. Naruto whispered to her, here's a little thank you gift I know you will like. Without a word she lunges at Naruto and starts to kiss him hungrily and full of lust. Naruto for a second was a bit taken back seeing how she flipped the tables on him. But after a few moments of each other's tongue trying to dominate each other, he began to understand what type of woman Akane was. Especially from the surge of spiritual pressure he gave her and the clear liquid that came trailing down her leg he spotted not too long ago. It made sense. She came as someone who tries to put up a dominate front but in the end wanted to be a submissive female. From the way he would try and dominate her, his assumption was right, especially how she would submit to his tongue while putting up a fight. Remembering the book of seduction he read from Aizen, he started to pour more into the kiss and show her a real alpha male. He started to grab her sides with his hands and slowly rub up and down, getting the knowing reaction out of her. Akane started to moan into his mouth from the kiss. She was getting really turned on. It wasn't until he slid on arm down, grabbed her bare skin forcefully, making it even harder for Akane to stifle her moans. Naruto started trailing kissing from her mouth down to her jaw and eventually her collarbone. Moaning in bliss, she tilts her head, giving him more room. She couldn't take it more. She can feel the bulge on her leg. Her hand started to slowly trail down his chest to grab his crotch, but suddenly a hand gripped her wrist firmly. And she heard a whisper. That is off limits for now. Maybe later. I want it to be special. For now I will leave you here, for I have to tell my sensei what happened. But I will back tonight. Naruto whispers huskily. Akane then said, very flustered, oh okay, at least let me at least set up a mental link with you so we can talk later. Akane was about to speak up but for the last time took her in a breathtaking kiss, leaving here momentarily stunned while Naruto vanishes. Snapping out of her dream-like state, she still notices that she is still and the sheets seem to be soaked. She is wet more than ever. She realizes she was left all hot and bothered. She yells. Damn you, Naruto-kun. You can't leave me here all horny like this. Just wait till you come back here tonight. Back to the real world. Upon opening his eyes, Naruto slightly chuckles hearing Akane's declaration. He stands up and walks around to find his sensei leaning on a tree looking at the sky. Aizen, sensing Naruto, speaks out, so Naruto-kun, how did the meeting with Kyuubi go? Naruto takes a moment to think about his experience, going from intimidating her at one moment to making out with her the next. It was very interesting to say the least, Aizen-sensei. Naruto says with a small smile. Aizen looks back at him knowing something happened. Oh, do tell Naruto, how was the fox like? Aizen says smirking. Naruto looks at him and cracks a slightly bigger smile. She is defiantly the picture definition of a goddess. Not only that, but she will not harm my training. In fact, she will do the opposite. Aizen smiles. While inside, Akane blushes red inside from the way she was described. Good, good. We also have another problem, Aizen said. I believe you are referring to our food supply being almost non-existent. Am I right? Naruto said. Correct. It looks like we will have to go back to the village and get some, Aizen says. Naruto on the other hand thought about it and spoke. Aizen-sensei, I believe you have a way of getting the food without having to show ourselves correct. Aizen smirks. Very much so. Tell me Naruto-kun, how do you think we can get in a grocery shop without people knowing who we are? Naruto takes a moment to think about it. I can't do any justus for I haven't unlocked my chakra yet. We can't sneak in there for Aizen-sensei never taught me stealth. I also can't ask GG Ether. The only option I can think is to. I see. That could very well work. And it will be a good way to test it out. Naruto smirks back at Aizen. I see what you have planned, Aizen-sensei, and I believe it will be a good way for me to see if I improve, Aizen chuckles. Well then we leave as soon as it gets dark. Little did Naruto know he was about to encounter a situation that would really test his skills. The sun began to come down. Naruto looked at his sensei and spoke. Aizen-sensei, it's time. Aizen looks back at him and says. Indeed it is. Let's see whose shunpo is faster, Naruto-kun. Naruto with a slight smirk replies. I believe mine would still be faster, Aizen-sensei. I am already at your level and in 3 more years I will only get stronger. Aizen replies. Let our actions do the talking, Naruto. Let's go. Both figures blurred out of existence. Each blurring out of the forest at breakneck speeds. Reaching the gate, they see the 2 gate guards asleep. Aizen sees this says. Let's move faster, Naruto. The goal is to be in and out in 40 seconds to a minute. Grab as much as you can and what you need. Naruto looks at him and smiles. Yes, I do believe we should speed this up. I will only take what I need that I know will last me for a while. So I limit my visits to the village. Aizen looks at him and smiles. Good idea, Naruto-kun. There is the store, let's go. 1 minute and a mad store owner later. Well, it seems like we accomplished our goal, Aizen said, carrying a few bags. While him and Naruto were shunpoing back to the forest of death. They both hear a woman's scream coming from a compound ahead of them. Help! Help me someone, please. Naruto and Aizen instantly perk up and stop. Naruto gives Aizen a silent signal telling him he's about to go and found out what's going on. Aizen smiles and looks at him, then the knight, and says, helping people within your village even after what they have done to you. You're a good kid, Naruto. Doing something I would have never thought about. Naruto flashes a true smile. Hi Aizen-sensei. You should know me by now. None who oppose shall live to see another day. Naruto said, putting his Aizen facade. He was about to shunpo before Aizen stopped him. Naruto, switch me swords. Naruto's head snaps back wide-eyed. Sensei why? Surely I am not ready to handle something as beautiful or powerful. Aizen chuckles. I believe you are ready to handle my sword. Your katas are flawless. All you need to do now is just get used to the blade. Aizen unties his sheath and gives him the sheath with the scabbard. Naruto takes it into his hands somewhat shakily. Taking off his sword and sash, he trades Aizen. Marveling at how beautiful the blade is, he ties the green sash on his waist and securing the sword. He looks at Aizen and bows. Aizen-sensei, I will make you proud using this sword. This means a lot to me. Thank you. Naruto then shunpos to the compound. Aizen, while making his way to the forest, begins to think, smiling, you already made me proud, Naruto. You just don't know it yet. Uchiha compound. Makoto POV. Makoto was running around the compound frantically trying to escape from her son. Seeing all members of her clan on the ground dead. Her older son, the prodigy of their great clan, just slaughtered everyone. She had to witness her son kill his father. Makoto was having a hard time wrapping her head around this concept. She was shaking out of her thoughts when Itachi Uchiha, a graduating student at the top of his class at 7 after only 1 year, mastering their famed Idojutsu the Sharingan at 8, passing the Chunin exams at 10, and becoming an Anbu captain at age 13. No doubt he was well beyond his years. Stood in front of Makoto, blocking her only chance of escaping. Makoto stood there frozen. The only thing now that was in her way was her son. Itachi looked at her emotionless. Sharingan blazing. Makoto broke the silence. Why, Itachi-kun? Why did you slaughter our clan? Your father, your friends, tell me why. Makoto said, on the verge of tears. Itachi stood there silent. Intel speaking in his monotone voice, to test the capacity of my skills. Although you should now Otudo is alive. I put him in a strong genjutsu. He will come to despise me. He will hate me and look to seek revenge. It ends here. Itachi took out his ninjutsu and looked at his mother for the last time. And silently whispers, "Forgive me, Ka-san," and brought his sword to slice her. Makoto closed her eyes, believing she was going to die. It wasn't until she heard a loud clang in front of her. Opening her eyes, she sees this tall blonde man in front of her blocking her son's sword. She hears the words, "I don't think that is a wise choice, Anbu-san." Naruto's POV. Naruto quickly shunput inside the compound. Upon entering, he saw bodies on the ground with blood everywhere. Quickly walking to some bodies on the ground and closely examining them, it seems these kills were fast with only a single strike. Looks more like this person did not want to trend too long here. Upon further inspection, he spots a little boy on the ground squirming and sweating. It seems he is the only one who is alive. But it seems he is in some nightmare, he thought. Quickly picking him up and setting him down near a house. He quickly shunpos further into the compound and he comes to see two people. A man and a woman. By the looks of it, she must have been the one who was screaming. Seeing this man pull his own sword, coming down with an attack. Naruto quickly drew his sword to block his and said, "I don't think that is a wise choice, Anbu-san." Normal POV. Itachi was naturally surprised to who this man was that blocked his sword. He backed up from him and examined him. He looked to have normal civilian clothing on, but with a green sash with a black scabbard. He responded back, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" Itachi said, forming his Mangekyo Sharingan. Naruto looks at him with a calm face and sheathes his sword and responds, "I am here for I heard someone screaming and as a concerned citizen I came by to check." Itachi responds, "From the way you drew your sword you don't look a civilian. Who are you really? That really isn't important now, Anbu-san. Tell me, why have you gone and murdered everyone here? I am very curious to hear your response." Itachi responds with the same answer he told his mom, "I did this to test my capacity of my skills." Naruto looks at him questioningly, "To test your capacity, huh? I hardly believe that's the case, Anbu-san. Why kill people who aren't up to your level when you could have clearly tested your skills among your fellow Anbu?" Naruto said. Itachi for the first time in a while became slightly stunned at his statement before Naruto continues, "So tell me again, Anbu-san, what is your true motive murdering everyone here?" For a while Itachi didn't respond. He charged Naruto with his sword in hand, planning to end him by slicing him down. It wasn't until Naruto did something that surprised him. With one hand in his pocket, Naruto quickly drew his sword with the other hand, blocking the downward strike with ease. Pushing Itachi back with his sword, he turned his head to Makoto, who was still frozen in place, and flashed her a slight smile and says, "Do not worry your little beautiful face over this. This will be quick." Makoto on the other hand blushes from cheek to cheek from the compliment she was given. She begins to wonder who this man is. Who is the blonde man? By the way he handles his sword, he must be good if he can block Itachi-kun with such ease. Itachi-kun isn't a slouch in all means. Makoto starts to look at him up and down more closely. My god, look at that body. I can literally see every muscle on him. Man, I can just picture him being on M. Bad thoughts, Makoto, bad thoughts. He's probably half my age. But my god, look at him, she said somewhat dreamily. Naruto on the other hand sizes up Itachi. Very good, his form is good. But not as good as mine. His stance is very loose with a few holes. But it mainly relies on speed. His footwork is good from the way he charged at me. But what is with those eyes? I've never seen them before. It must be an enhancement to his skills if he has them activated. But to what? His physical skills, his chakra. Well, let's see how he proceeds. Itachi flashing through hand signs yells, Kaden, Gokaku no Justu, great fireball technique. A huge fireball shoots out of Itachi's mouth and heads towards Naruto. Naruto unfazed, Shunpo's right behind Itachi and whispers, "Too slow Anbu-san." Itachi hears this with wide eyes, he didn't even see him move. Capitalizing on Itachi's stunned state, Naruto draws his sword to slice him on the back. Itachi grunts, while Naruto flicks the blade with blood on it off. Itachi then begins to fight him in taijutsu using a high-level stance. But much to Itachi's surprise, he is dodging with much ease. Backing off, Naruto begins to talk again. "Very good Anbu-san, but in terms of skill you are nothing but a speck of dust compared to me." Itachi, knowing he was trying to get a rise out of him, says nothing while Naruto continues. "Tell me, is this what Anbu are capable nowadays? Looking at your skills I assume you hold a high position. But why is it you cannot still strike me? I will tell you why. You skills in Anbu standards are great, but compared to me I am on level you will not ever attain." Itachi, a little miffed, locks eyes with Naruto and whispers, "Tsukuyomi, Moon Reader." Naruto opens his eyes to see him shackled to a cross. An illusion. Impressive. But this still won't hold me, Naruto thought. Itachi appears in front of him. "In the world of Tsukuyomi I control time and space. For the next 72 hours you will live to see yourself die over and over again." Itachi said, examining the look on his face, was shocked to see Naruto void of any emotion and more shocked at what he did next. "It seems your eyes enhance your reflexes and gives you powerful techniques such as this." "Like I said, not enough," Naruto says, but instantly flares his Ryostu, purple Ryostu surrounding him, causing the illusion to crack slightly and then shatter. Itachi looks at him wide-eyed and states, "Impossible, the only people capable breaking that illusion are people who have the same eyes as me." Itachi yells, showing his first emotion throughout the whole fight. Naruto smirked, knowing he was starting to show his emotions, but just points out his finger and says, "Hado number 4. Byakurai." A streak of thunder shoot from his finger at fast break speed and stuck Itachi clear in the shoulder. Itachi grunts a little louder before gathering more of his chakra. Looking at Naruto, he retaliates. Amaterasu, heavenly illumination. Again the flame does not reach Naruto at all, for him being too fast. Makoto, on the other hand, watching this battle, is just completely stunned. This man is single-handedly fighting her son with ease, who is known throughout the village as one of the strongest ninjas. "Oh my, I have to get to know this guy now. Hopefully he can tell me his name so I can give him an award," she thought with a blush, but turned her eyes back to the battle. Seeing the frustration on Itachi's face, he speaks, "Again your techniques are too slow. You must be low on chakra, I presume, considering you're slouched and panting. I believe I am done playing with you." Naruto begins to flare his spiritual pressure as he did to Akane at their first meeting. Itachi soon finds himself on both knees, almost hyperventilating at the sheer weight he feels on his whole body. It lasts for about 30 seconds and looks up to see Naruto slightly smirking. "Like I said, Anbu-san, you are a nothing compared to me. That pressure you felt is my raw power alone. I only used a fraction of my power as a whole. Continuing to fight me is useless at this point." Itachi, for the first time in his life, looks at Naruto with fear. Figuring out that he was merely toying with him, an Anbu captain at that. Naruto began to speak again. "Knowing that I have this power, I would like to propose something to you." Itachi became genuinely interested in what he was going to say and said, "And what would that be?" Naruto looks at him and continues, "Right now I am not a ninja of this village, for I have yet to go the academy." Itachi became wide-eyed and his jaw dropped. This man, who looked to be at least a teenager, is someone who has not started the academy at all, which tells Itachi he must be younger than he really is. Naruto continues, "After I go to the academy and graduate, then become a chunin, I am going to leave this village to start my own." What I propose is, since I know you are a strong and capable ninja, I want you to be one of my first captain among my ranks. Itachi was a bit skeptical at first. Your strength is believable, but where and how do you plan on making a village? Naruto looks at him with a sinister smile and says, it will be explained in due time if you plan to join me, that is. I can exterminate you like a fly right now if you wish. But I do see great potential in you, Anbu-san. If you don't mind me asking, what is your name? Itachi hesitates. Then responds, I am Itachi Uchiha of the Uchiha clan. What is your name? Naruto runs a hand through his hair and says, I am Naruto Namikaze. So Yaki-san, what do you say? Itachi and Makoto for one was stunned hearing this. Naruto. As in Kushi-chan's child. Wow, never expected that, Makoto thought. Itachi for one is still wrapping that head around his name and remembers. He's heard of him as the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox. He also knew the treatment the villagers gave him, for he was one of the Anbu that was assigned to watch Naruto whether he knew it or not. Breaking him out of his thoughts, Naruto continues, Itachi-san, I sense Hokage Gigi and 4 other energies on their way here. Make your decision now, Naruto said a little more intimidatingly, rising his spiritual pressure again. Itachi instantly recognizes the power and quickly responds. Give me time to think about it, Naruto-kun. All I can say is this was a mission given to me, for I will become a nuke nin. If I'm correct, we will see each other again very soon. Naruto sat there examining his options of his response. Sensing no deception, he responds. Very well, Itachi-san. I will let you leave. You better make sure we do keep in contact. If not, I will find you myself and will show you power you have yet to seen. Naruto says indifferently. Itachi nods his head and says, yes, we will. And also, can you please look over my Ka-san? I'm not sure how my brother will react to this incident, but can you also keep an eye on him as well? Naruto nods his head. Very well. Make sure you contact me in 3 to 4 years' time, for I will become an official ninja and set my plan into motion. Itachi turns around and about to set off until he says, Naruto-kun. I knew your parents. And they were good people. They would be proud of you. Naruto stiffens at the confession but smiles at him and says, I know, Itachi-san. This is why I'm doing this. For the people I care about. Without a word, Itachi disappears. Turning his gaze back to Makoto standing there in complete shock. It was until Naruto snapped her out of it and said, are you okay, pretty lady? Makoto blushes again and says, why yes, I am. Thank you for saving me. I surely thought I was going to die, she said before throwing herself into the arms of Naruto. Being Naruto as he is, he puts his hand on her back to gently soothe her and starts whispering things in her ear to cool her down. Couple of moments later, her crying dies down and she starts to inch away from him. Naruto couldn't help but take a good look at her. She was beautiful in his arms. A fair complexion, with beautiful long black bangs come down her face with no blemishes. She looked to have a slender frame, and he could tell she was a ninja from her toned slim legs, along with a chest that looked to be at least D-cup holding firmly in her bra. Makoto, on the other hand, was enjoying being engulfed in his arms. Feeling all his muscles from his arms to his chest. Being held in his tight muscles had her feel safe. His aura was the most interesting to her. It made you feel as he is closely examining you just to break you down. His aura made you feel like you are nothing to him and you can't touch him as he fights. On the battlefield he seemed like her older son, if not more serious on a scarier scale. But now his aura feels like he will take care of you. And nothing will harm you. Being interrupted out of her thoughts by a hand to her chin, Naruto brings her chin up and asks, are you okay now? She could only nod. He asks with a grin, so can I get the name of the princess I just saved? Makoto can only blush hard and stutter out, my name is Makoto. Makoto Uchiha. Naruto smiles at her more, giving Makoto a harder blush. That is a beautiful name, Makoto-chan. Why was he trying to kill you? Naruto said, still blushing from the affectionate term, stutters. I don't know. He was my oldest son. Why would he betray our clan like that? Why kill all his family, friends and everyone he loves? She yells, tears pouring out again. Naruto, looking a little sad, brings her into a tight hug and she instantly buries her head in his chest and just rubs her back until she calms down. Makoto, enjoying the moment, hears Naruto speak up. I would love to sit here and hold you all day, Makoto-chan, but I have to go now. Makoto looks up and teases back. Ah, why? I am that bad of company. Naruto cracks a slight chuckle and says smoothly. No, not at all, Makoto-chan. Any man in his right mind would enjoy this. Would it make you feel better if I told you I am enjoying holding you? Makoto blushes even redder than this time and couldn't say a word. Naruto starts to hear Akane and growl a bit, making her presence known for the first time in this encounter. Akane's mindscape. She was witnessing what Makoto was doing and started to growl. How dare she shamelessly flirt with my Naruto-kun? Wait, my Naruto-kun, when did that happen? Though I wouldn't mind making him mine. And I mean all of him. She thought, playing certain scenarios in her mind, making her nose bleed at all the images. Back to Naruto and Makoto. Seeing Makoto blush, Naruto only smiles, releasing her, giving them a little space, and says, well, I must get going. GG will be here in second. When he asks who saves you, tell him everything that happened here. I'm sure GG would at least like to know I'm alive at least. She nods her head as Naruto turns around to try and get back to the forest, but hears something from Makoto that makes him flinch. Where are you going, and is it true? Are you going to leave this village? Naruto stops and stands still. Turning around to look at her, he sighs and runs a hand through his hair and says, yes, I am. When I become of Chunin rank, I will leave this wretched village to start my own. Makoto says, I want to go with you, she says. Making Naruto slightly stunned before reining himself in. What would be your motive? You have been in this village your whole life. What would be in it for you to defect? You still have a child here. Why? Naruto said, turning his facial features serious. I have nothing to live for except my son. I want to know how this will affect him in the future. I believe he will seek revenge. I'm hoping I can steer him away from that. But all I know is I want to start anew. This place will only serve as a memory of what happened, Makoto retorts. Naruto, studying here, seeing the logic in her statement, speaks up. Very well, you can come. But you will have to wait a couple years. For am I on a training with my sensei away from the village? Makoto nods and asks, so you're coming back then in a few years? What if you don't come back? What if you decided to leave me? Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? She yells hysterically. Not knowing how to proceed and get her to quiet down, he does what he thinks is right at the moment. Walking towards her, he gently grabs her cheek and caresses it. Then follows it up with a deep, searing kiss to her lips. Makoto was stunned for a moment before deepening the kiss. Surprising Naruto by her actions, he begins to deepening as well, making her moan into the kiss. A few seconds later, he's the first to pull back and says, there. Remember that kiss, Makoto-chan. It's my promise to you that I'll be coming back. Without another word, he shunpos out of the compound back to the forest to try and catch up with Aizen. Makoto, still in a daze, thought one thing. Wow, he has the softest lips ever. And he's a great kisser. Makoto suddenly hears a voice. Ikoto-chan, Makoto-chan, are you alright? She hears someone say. She focuses her gaze on the person and it appears to be Sarutobi and some Anbu behind him. Hello, Hokage-sama, and yes, I am fine. Sarutobi notices her glazed eyes and asks, what happened here, who did this? Makoto began to explain how everyone in the compound got slaughtered by her oldest son, even her husband, leaving everyone dead except her son. Then she tells about how she almost died if it weren't for a blonde swordsman. Sarutobi, being a little more interested, asked who it was. Her answer shocked Sarutobi. Explaining it was Naruto, she began to tell him how he beat Itachi with ease and was toying with him. This further shocked Sarutobi to his core. He knew Itachi was one of the best ninjas in the village. Even the Anbu were amazed. No one was ever up to Itachi's level during his time in the ANBU. Hearing that an 8-year-old was capable of feat shocked them. Especially a purple-haired sword-loving kunoichi in the group. Remembering what he looked like in the forest of death, she began to blush under her mask. But what interested her was the boy's supposed sword skill. She knew Itachi-senpai was excellent at sword and had almost to no flaws. She knew she had to meet him and maybe test her skills. Sarutobi was in deep thought about it. Naruto-kun, it's almost only 1 year and you're able to single-handedly defeat one of my best operatives. What of training have you been doing? Sarutobi, snapping out of his thoughts, tells Anbu to fetch Sasuke and get him and Makoto to the hospital. Both Sarutobi and Makoto ended their night with thoughts of the same blonde boy. With Naruto. A couple minutes later, reaching a clearing, he spots Aizen meditating. Aizen, sensing him, speaks up. How was it, Naruto-kun? Naruto sits down next to him and lays back on the grass to gaze at the sky and says, nothing I couldn't handle. It seems my Hado has gotten better in power and accuracy. Not only that, but my speed was no match for the man I fought. It seems he held a high position within the Anbu. Aizen smirks and say, wouldn't expect anything else from you. Your training is almost over. And for that, the only thing left is to find your Zanpakuto spirit. What did Kyuubi say about training, by the way? Naruto thought about it and said, ah yes, let me ask her. Aka-chan, aka Chan, are you there? Naruto says through the mental link. Akane responds, yes, I am Naruto-kun, and to answer your sensei's question, I will help you with everything from chakra control, to elemental chakra and learning those justus your Hokage gave you. We should begin with that after you learn your Zanpakuto spirit. Naruto nods and thanks her, but was interrupted when Akane yells again, and you better come in here tonight so we can cuddle. Naruto chuckles and responds, well, who would have thought that Kyuubi no Yoko would want to cuddle with someone like me? Well, I wouldn't miss it for the world. Akane blushes, glad that Naruto couldn't see her right now. Naruto, breaking the link, tells Aizen everything Akane said. Being pleased with the answer, Aizen says, well, rest up tonight. For the rest of this month you will try to confront your Zanpakuto spirit. After that it will have been 1 year. For the next 3 you will be refining these techniques to mere perfection. If everything works out, you should be able to me. Also know that once your training is complete, I will have to leave. No, contacting your spirit doesn't always come easily. You might have to spend weeks on it. Naruto, frowning at the thought of his sensei leaving, nodding, says, hi sensei, I promise these next 3 years you will be proud of me and I will surpass you. Aizen smiles and thinks, you already have made me proud, Naruto-kun. I just wish I could stick around and see your success. Unknown to both of them, Naruto's sword began to vibrate. Finally, Naruto-kun. I will be finally able to meet you. Finally, someone who will use my potential to change this world. I can't wait. That night, Naruto went inside his mindscape during his sleep to cuddle with Akane. They spent the whole night telling each other about their lives, likes and dislikes, etc. Akane even explained to him that his mom was her previous vessel and that she was manipulated into attacking Konoha by a man named Uchiha Madara. Crying because of it, Naruto soothed her and vowed to kill this man for her. Akane instantly knew that day when she was being held like a lover, talking to each other, and him telling she was going to avenge her. She knew instantly she was beginning to fall for her vessel, surprising herself at how quick she fell in love. But she then realized she cared for him all along, and it took certain actions for her to confirm it. She only needed the right time to tell him that she was in love with him. 1 month later, 1 year finished. It's been almost 1 month since Aizen gave Naruto his sword to begin his Jinzen with, but for some reason he still wasn't making progress. Noting that his sensei said it might take longer, he started to clean the sword, making sure it was shiny. He then put it on his lap and began to meditate again. Feeling a different feeling this time than all the other times he's meditated, he tries to focus on it more. More and more, than feeling becomes more powerful until he opens his eyes. Kyoka Sugestu's world. Opening his eyes, Naruto finds himself in a field with a pond in it. The moon reflecting off the pond, being that it's night time. He looks up to see the sky. Stars spread out throughout the sky. He only uttered one word. Beautiful. Then he hears a voice to the side of him. She then responds. It sure is Naruto-kun. Turning his head to the side, he sees a girl that might be able to match Akane's beauty sitting on large rock. A woman wearing a beautiful white and light black kimono. With beautiful light white hair with a flower tucked behind it. She also had dark blue eyes and beautiful plump red lips. Picture Soda no Shirayuki from Bleach. Naruto for the first time is stunned by someone's beauty. He never expected his Zanpakuto spirit to be so beautiful. Composing himself, he walks to her and stands in front of her and begins to speak. I assume you are my Zanpakuto spirit. He says, then reaches over to grab her hand and place a kiss on her knuckles before continuing. You truly are a beautiful spirit. Kyoka never imagined her wielder to be so bold. Blushing up a storm after the kiss, smiles at him. I have been waiting to meet you, Naruto-kun. You are much more handsome up close, Kyoka says while still blushing. Naruto smiles and replies, thank you, but while you can give me a word to describe my looks, I have yet to find a word that fully describe your beauty. Kyoka, now blushing even redder than before, said, you are very smooth with words, Naruto-kun. I only call it how I see it. So what do you mean when you said you have been waiting for me? Naruto says, I have been watching your training. And let me say I am impressed. Your resolve is unshakable. And your determination, as I know, will not waver. I know for a fact you will be able to wield me at higher state than Aizen can. Kyoka said, trying to control her blush. Silence reigned over them for a few minutes before Kyoka speaks up. Tell me, Naruto-kun, do you know my name? For a minute Kyoka looks at him silently, hoping he does. Naruto gazes at her with a soft expression and says, of course I do, my beautiful mirror flower. It is my honor to meet you, Kyoka Sugestu. Kyoka all of sudden lunges at Naruto and starts to kiss him with much need. Very shocked that his Zanpakuto spirit is kissing him, decides to give her what she wants and deepens the kissing. Sucking on her top lip. Then proceeding to using their tongues. After 5 minutes and much need air, she snuggles into Naruto's chest and whispers. I am so glad you know my name, Naruto-kun. Naruto, with his chin on top of her head, says. I'm glad too. I know that with you by my side I will become feared throughout the shinobi world. We will do this together. Without another word, he steadily puts her at arm's length and says, I need to get back now. I promise I will visit you often. Goodbye, Kyoka-chan, and with that giving her a kiss to the forehead, then fades away. Kyoka sitting there on the rock thinking about the lips that just graced not only her forehead but lips in the term he used her name in. Such a kind soul for those he cares about, yet a man who will not fear to cut you down at an instant. You won't have to be alone anymore. I will always be there for you, Kyoya thought out loud. She was interrupted from a voice of a female behind her. I see you meet him too. She turns around to see Akane leaning against a tree. Kyoka responds, yeah, he is wonderful man, not to mention a cute one at that. Akane chuckles. You got that right. So what's your name? Considering now that we share the same mindscape. Kyoka stands up, walks over to her, puts out her hand out. Kyoka Sugestu, she says. Akane accepts the greeting. Well, I am the Kyubi no Yoko, but you can call me Akane, she says. Kyoka was then spoke. Nice to meet you. At least I have someone here to talk to. Akane nods her head. I agree, it does get pretty lonely in here. But now at least he has 2 women that will love him and never leave him alone no matter what. Kyoka looks at her in surprise. How do you know that I am in love with him? Akane can only laugh again. That look you had on your face when you talked about him. It's the same look I get when I see him or think about him. The look of wanting to love him, Akane says with a deemy sigh. Kyoka blushes. Well, at least we have one thing in common. Kyoka says with a slight giggle. Akane speaks. Not only that, but I think there is another girl gunning for him. So we got competition now. Kyoka simply states, grinning with a little blush. Well, it matters to me not. For me and Naruto, I know will become close within the next 3 years. Hopefully very close. You and me both, sister. Akane and Kyoka giggle. Back to the real world. With that, Naruto woke up with a sudden surge of Ryustu. Alerting Aizen, he comes to see Naruto's purple Ryutsu even thicker and denser than before. With the sudden flow stopping, he gets Naruto's attention. Well, I see you found out its name. Your Ryustu is much heavier now, he said with a smile. Naruto only nods, then gets up to stretch. Yes, I did, Naruto said, admiring at the blade. He began sensing the slight hum. Then he hears her voice. Stop looking at me like that, Naruto-kun. You're making me blush. Kyoka-chan, Naruto said. Yes, it's me. I'm glad we can talk now, Naruto-kun. Now that you know my name, we have a stronger bond, thus sharing my mindscape here with Akane. Kyoka said. Hi, Naruto-kun. Akane piped up excitedly. Well, hello, my beautiful vixen, Naruto said. Akane on the other hand blushed while Kyoka pouted. Ah, Naruto-kun, what about me? She asked cutely. Naruto smiled. Well, how can I not notice my beautiful moonflower of equal beauty as well? He said smoothly. Kyoka blushed. That's more like it. Snapping Naruto out of the conversation, Naruto continues. Now that I have found my blade, I am now ready to perfect my Shinigami skills along with my Shikai and Shinobi skills. Aizen looks at him seriously. These next 3 years are only going to get harder. You will have to push yourself through level 1 could have never attained. You will aim to be perfect in all skills of Shinigami and Shinobi skills alike. Are you sure you want this? Aizen said. Without a doubt of hesitation, he said. I understand the trials that I will face and I am ready to move forward. Especially with my beautiful moonflower and vixen and you, Aizen-sensei. Right, Naruto said in his head. Damn, Naruto-kun, we will be with you every step of the way. We will never leave you, Akane said. Kyoka nodded, then speaks up. Yes, Naruto-kun, we will make sure you are the strongest to where no can oppose us. Naruto nods in thankful manner. I have no time to waste. Let's get started, Aizen-sensei.